Hey traders, this is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and this is a quick video on all the services that we offer at Tribeca Trade Group and what we're doing on a daily basis. So this video is really for if you've seen me on Twitter or you see me tweet out different trades, but you're like, oh, it's kind of interesting what he does, but I really don't understand what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. I'm curious to know what they're doing in the trading room and what he's doing all week long for his members. He's sending out a member watch list. We do weekend videos as well that I mentioned on Twitter that I send out to members. But really, what does that contain, right? Because I kind of have to walk a little bit of a fine line here. Members are paying for our service and what we're doing, so I don't advertise those publicly because that just wouldn't be fair. So this video is just for basically if you're curious and you want to know a little bit more about Tribeca Trade Group and what we do and our services, and I'll go over all that. So first of all, what's my mission statement? What do we do and what do we not do? Like how are we different from, there's so many other services on Twitter. Let's face it, there's some good ones and there's some bad ones. But I think really, if you've had a taste, I've had a taste of a couple of the bad ones. I really like to make my service value add so that traders are really getting something and getting my expertise of being an institutional trader. For several years at Bank of America, I was a director, so I really understand flow and tape reading because I used to be the one who used to be executing the trades, right? I used to be a big block trader at Merrill Lynch, both in the ETF space and Delta One, as well as trading a lot of other products, just like straight equities and so on and so forth. So I'm not trying to pat my own back, but I do have a lot of institutional trading background that most traders on Twitter don't have. I also go by my full name, and everybody knows me in the trading room. I don't make up some type of emoji on Twitter. This is for real. You could look up my background on Google and see what it's all about. But so what am I doing on a daily basis? Well, really what I'm trying to do is provide the best market color for members, right? So that you don't have to go searching on Twitter for news stories and so forth. I pay a lot of money to get the news stories up front. A lot of what I tweet out is usually late, so I always make sure that members get everything. But I do pay for things like a Bloomberg terminal. I pay for Trade Alert. I have a couple other services too that I use as well. But really, my out-of-pocket expenditure is probably more than you'll see for anybody else. It's just, well, I've been using Bloomberg, I think, since 2003, I believe. So I've been doing this a long time. I'm used to these expenses. And if you're not familiar with how much Bloomberg costs, you could Google it and see how much it is. So really, that's one of my objectives, is to make sure that I'm getting members not only macro news, but also on U.S. index, sector, single stock, basically anything that's relevant and anything that you could try to make money from, right? That's our whole goal is to make money for members, right? So that they have the best advantage out there. All right. And number two, really what we've created is a collaborative trading room for experienced traders. So I have to say, if you've never traded before, or if you don't really have an understanding of what calls or puts or stocks, indices, it may not be the best service for you. What I'm really looking for is to make our trading room as robust as possible with experienced traders that are going to be very transparent, just as I am. I think everybody has a mutual respect for one another and will put out exactly what we're trading. For me, what you get is, I like I said, completely transparent in everything that I do. So you could see, I post trades real time. Not only do they go in our regular group chat, and as you notice, I'm using Slack here. So Slack really keeps us organized during the day. But we have a group chat. So whenever I take a trade, whenever I post option activity, it goes into our main chat room. I also have a trades channel where everything goes live. And then, of course, we also have a private Twitter feed. And those trades will go out live as well. Usually, when I'm entering a stock position, as well as a longer term option position. What I'm doing is basically using a chart stop every time I get into a position. You could see, I think I had a couple in here. Actually, I didn't put the stop and the price on here, but that's on our private Twitter feed, and I'll show you that. But I got into some Zillow today. I got into some cyber. I also put our first target is 132 on that. So it's all a lot of details. Also, what you get on private Twitter, when I do get into a swing trade, you'll get the chart as well. So what this will look like is this. You'll see exactly what we're doing. Here's a couple of the trades. Here's Zillow. So, bit wide. Stop will be 46.90. Here is my chart setup on Cyber. I did mention first target will be 132. So everything is very detailed so that you know exactly what I'm thinking getting into the trades. But everybody will post, members will post what they're trading. And I think that's really good idea generation, right? So also what we're doing, the next step is really consistent setups for using trend and momentum trading. It's kind of what I do. I'm a trend trader. I also trade a lot of momentum. I use a lot of momentum for day trading. I would say my breakdown of trading is probably about 65% swing and 35% day trading, but that fluctuates based on what the market does, right? If the market is super volatile during the day, probably my day trading will go up a little bit. If we're in just a steady uptrend, I'm going to be doing more swing trading. Swing trading could be anywhere from a few days to a couple months, depending on what type of setup that I'm looking at. I've got some trades on that I purposely want to have on for a while because I know that they're slow movers, and I've got some names that if they work really well, I could be out pretty quick. My favorite setups, happy to tell you this, it's usually a break out of consolidation, something that's been in a range for a long time. I also very much look at dips and uptrends, right? So something, like the software names are a good example, right? Sometimes they go up a little bit too far, they get ahead of themselves. Sometimes on earnings, they have good earnings, but they actually sell off, right into support. So that's my bread and butter of really kind of getting into strong names that have good earnings that are coming into support, right? So you have to be very patient, but that's what I do. I try to find those for you. Technicals are very much used in my approach, right? So as I mentioned, every time we get into a swing trade, I will basically put what I'm looking at. They come equipped with stop prices as well, so that you could set them up on your trading system. But I'm using what's called the TTG Market Webs. If you're not familiar, I've got plenty of material on those, webinars on those. But it's something that we go through every day. So if you like those types of setups that I post on regular public Twitter, and I talk about value areas and breakouts out of value areas, and if this is completely foreign to you, it's okay. It's one of the only indicators that I use. It's also one of the only indicators that I sell. It helps when other people are on the same page as me. This is a one-time fee for the market webs. I don't do things like charge someone over and over for the same thing. I also don't do indicators of the month. What I have is a really good system, and I tweak and adjust the system, but I don't come out with a new indicator of the month club. That's not something that I do. I want to adjust my trading plan when needed, but I don't always want to completely switch things around. Option activity. So let me tell you a little bit about what we do. What the day is like at Tribeca Trade Group. We open up. So first of all, Slack is open 24 hours. So if you want to have a conversation with another trader at night, if you're watching futures, you could do that. I usually jump in a couple nights during the week, talk about if something major is going on, or just talk about a couple setups. We've got traders posting setups all different times. So if you do your research like I do at night, if you kind of do your homework, you can see what other traders are posting in the room. We do have a chart section as well in Slack that I use, but usually setups will go out right on the direct private Twitter feed, right? So what we do is in the morning we the trading room is open all hours, but I do a live video share that starts usually at 9:05 in the morning. I talk about all the market moves, and then I talk about probably between two to five different names that I'm really watching that are on my radar to go long for either day trades or swing trades. What I also do, and like here's an example, before we actually start the pre-market session, what I will do is tweet out a couple things that I'm watching. Like today, I said, "Hey, I'm actually watching the Fang stocks," and these are the levels that I'm watching in them. These are the names that I'm watching. I also talked about after the jobs report this morning, names that could possibly get a little bit of a catalyst, right? And then we kind of go into detail. I mentioned I'm also watching cyber, which I actually got into today. So a lot of the trades, the setups that I talk about are going to be actionable. Not every single one is going to trigger for me, but it's going to be set up. Every day is kind of set up with a game plan and what I want to get into. So that is not 9 o'clock in the morning. We do that until the market opens. Then between 9:30 to so basically about 1 o'clock, I'm reading the tape and I'm pointing out option flow, telling you, hey, this is a repeat. We've seen calls in this one a couple times. So you're kind of relying on me to kind of point out the option flow as well as, tell you if this is a really good setup. What I normally do, right? We see so much option activity on a given day. What I don't do is call out 20 or 30 names and then say, oh, geez, look at this one. This one's at a 52-week high. This one worked. No, I mean, I really kind of use the option activity and plug it into my system. Again, you really only want to play, like using a poker analogy, you want to only play the best hands, right? We see so many trades on a daily basis, aggressive trades, block trades, right? But you cannot trade every one of these trades. And so really it depends on me if it sets up technically. Like Snap is one I think that's setting up technically, but what I usually do is do something like this. I'll say Sony, we've seen repeat activity in it. Look, they're going after calls again. How does it look like? Where do I envision the stock could get to? So this one, we talked about how just below 57 could be an area where you look to take targets. Notice this is also trading above value, so it is getting out of a range. Right? It's kind of how we break things down on a day-to-day basis. At 1 o'clock, it depends. I don't do this every day, only if there's really something interesting to talk about. I will do a midday video and I'll just summarize. So if you're a part-time trader and can't be in the room all the time, but you're curious as to what names look pretty good that have seen some option activity, I'll go over that in about a 5 or 10 minute video. So very quick midday video. Right? And then the rest of the day, I really don't take much of a break other than go get lunch. This is what I do, and this is what I've been doing for a long time. I don't go to the gym and look at myself in the mirror. I go, I stay really at the desk in front of the screens and doing my job, which is looking for setups for you, and also looking for option activity, which is also basically it's an idea generator for me. I never just say, oh, there's option activity, I'm going to jump into that. There's got to be more than one reason for me to get involved. So that's kind of the day in the life. At the end of the day, what you do get is a recap as well, all the trades that I've done. Both, I'll put a list of what day trades I do, but also I keep on a spreadsheet all of my open positions. I could tell you that I do basically 50-50 in terms of option positions versus stock positions, right? Some positions, it's just a little bit easier for me. You have to understand I am managing a trading room all day long, so it actually helps me a little bit to get into some stock positions where I've got chart stops. So that's a little bit easier for me to manage, and especially I'll make the decision based upon the implied volatility in the stock, whether or not I want to own the stock or the option. I will say for some of your really high price stocks like Amazon, I do a lot of call spreads. I also sell some premium there because I think it's more fitting when you do those types of trades rather than trade weeklies. Do I trade a lot of weeklies? No, not really. Sometimes I'll take a shot on something. My view is that really your weekly options are basically for taking shots at some things. It's not, that's to me is not my bread and butter trading, nor do I think it's, I think it's very, very difficult to consistently make money in weekly options, right? So I always say if you're going to put on a weekly or a front month option, then basically that's something that you have to be fully aware that you could lose all that premium. So only put in what you're willing to risk on trades like that. What else? So to go over, yeah, so here's our trade blotter, which I think I've already brought up for you. At the end of the day, you get a recap. What we also do during the week is we do a what I call a chart forum webinar for just for members. I usually bring on one of my colleagues so we can kind of go over point and counterpoint some ideas. But we start with the overall indices and then we break it down to individual names, some of which we've seen option activity. But that's really for you guys to ask questions and to bring charts that you want me to go over as well. So it's a big Q&A that we do, and that's once a week. And then finally on the weekend, what we do is I put together, and again, I'll show you exactly from our private Twitter feed, what I send out on the weekend. So it is a video that comes about. It depends on, how many setups I have, but it ranges from about a half hour to an hour webinar. Unless if there's some big catalyst for the week, I'll spend some time. But what I'll do is I'll give you lists that. This is earlier in the week. We also do a trading contest that we do once a month. There we go. So here's our weekend note. These are names, and I usually will put them into a watch list in Finviz so that members have them. And then what I'll do is I'll break these down on Thinkorswim. Not all the names. You could see I've got quite a bit of names that I was looking at. Two lists. I also do a recap of my open positions on the member video as well. So you can see you really get your money's worth. Some of the things that I don't do, which is good to go over too, because this is where you may have gotten a bad experience from time to time. I flagged this for you. You will never hear me say that. You'll never, if it was so good, I would have gotten into the position. If it breaks a level, this goes higher. That is complete garbage if you ever hear that from anybody. Of course it will. If it breaks a level, it's going to go higher. That's by definition what happens. You could earn potential profits, big potential profits by taking this trade. You'll never hear me say that. And then so on and so forth. I went through a zillion charts. Yes, if somebody is saying that and they run a subscription service, that is what they should be doing. They should not be telling you that they're doing that every single time. That's what I do just about every night. Once the market closes, I mentioned I do my homework, and that's what it's all about. All right, so what we charge, you could go to TribecaTradeGroup.com. So I don't run any trials. The reason why I don't do that is it costs me money to get people set up. Like I said, our services are a lot different than others. It actually costs me money to get you established in our system. I use Slack. I get charged for that. There's also quite a bit of labor. So no, this is for real traders and serious traders, not for somebody who wants to come in for a couple days and try to steal everything from the room, right? So there's no trials that we offer. Now, if by chance you sign up, and again, I'm only charging $129, which is much cheaper. I'm not looking to price gouge anybody. I'm looking for serious people who want to trade with another good group of experienced traders. So I don't charge a lot. A couple of members have told me, hey, you could probably charge a lot more. Yes, I could, but I'm not really interested in taking that approach with people. So that's what we charge, $129. Now, if after a couple days and you hate it, this is not for you, and you tell me why, I'm happy to give you back 90% of your money. But again, $129 I don't think is going to kill anybody. I think people pay more on cable per month. All right, guys. So I hope that helps. I think it's very good for me to kind of communicate this, also so that you know what to expect once you sign up and get into the room. All right, guys. Thanks for watching the video. If you have any questions about this at all, again, the website is TribecaTradeGroup.com. You can hit contact us, or you can email me directly. My Gmail address is cfromhertz@gmail.com. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.